Awesome. Thank you so much for your time, everyone, for attending this webinar. It will be regarding doubling your B2B sales result with sales enablement tool. So a bit about myself. My name is Adrian, and I'm the practice leader at PeopleStrong. PeopleStrong is an enterprise HR tech company. We've been around in Asia for close to 15 years. Last year, we entered into the Singapore market as well as Thailand market. And we are enabling 1 million over users throughout about 350 plus enterprises, supporting the way they reinvent their workplace through talent acquisition platform, workplace management, talent management, and so forth. But today I want to talk a bit more about sales enablement, because this is also something that is close to my heart as part of my scope as a practice leader, is also to dialogue and interface with people, with prospects, with leads that we are trying to educate and also trying to convince on why they should consider our solution. Now, but let's look at how things have changed for us so far in this COVID-19 situation. You probably would have seen yourself that something like this is not happening. This is a picture of a big scale event. Big scale event has no longer been possible since early part of this year. Even though it's going to be, it's going to reopen to some extent. We're going to have a smaller set of people coming into an expo, but I think it's going to be a long time before we could really look into an event or an expo as part of a way to really condense our sales effort in a meaningful way. Business travel is also out. I've heard that SIA has scrapped the idea to fly to nowhere. So a lot of us right now, especially if you're doing international or regional sales, meeting up with your clients is no longer possible, which is also why we are doing this through Zoom today, because meeting up with you is no longer possible. I'm paired it with working from home. Every one of us right now, I believe, should at least a large set of us will be working from home. I'm personally doing this in my balcony. And what you see here in this picture is actually a lighter version. Personally, I have 4 kids. So you imagine 3 more kids in this picture. That's me every day when I'm trying to work. Now, before I move on, I just want to understand personally from you as a salesperson. I'm assuming you're a salesperson, which is why you're attending this webinar. What other challenges are you facing here? I appreciate if you can put it into the chat. And by the way, in the chat box, by default, the content may not be shared with everyone. So if you can, just pull down and share it with everyone. So everyone here would have an understanding of the challenge that you're facing. And perhaps it may help alert them of other challenges to keep in mind, or at the very least, let them know that they are not alone in facing all these challenges. Now, I'd like to move on to sales tech while you key in your answers and opinion. What exactly is sales tech and why does it matter? Now, sales tech essentially is a set of technical tools used by salespeople to enhance the revenue and productivity. This is something that I've been using for a long time, since 2014. So 2014, I actually exited from my business and became a solopreneur. I was running, I started a career coaching agency, but I was just a one-man show. But I needed to scale. So I had to do things on my own. I've learned how to create my own website, how to do SEO. Everything went quite well until I realized that I need to scale my effort in outreach. So that is where my interest and curiosity on technology tools that can help me to handle all these things came into the picture. And that helped me to understand more about what's out there. And if you look at this map created by CB Insights, you can see there's quite a number of sales enablement tools out there broken into different categories. But this is not the full extent of it. CB Insight actually did, I would say, a summary table. This is more or less the full extent of it. As you can see, the number of tools out there is tremendous. If you are not using a single sales tech tool, you are missing out a lot. So there are tools in all these different categories. Each of them are meant to solve a single unique pain point. So depending on what your pain point is, you may want to experiment with some of these tools. But I know this is going to be very overwhelming, so not to worry. my past few years of experimentation will come into play here. So later I'm going to share with you some of the tech that I'm using right now. Most of them are free, some of them you have to pay, but all in, I think it is worth paying for it, because the thing about paying for something in the sales department is the conversion or leading to bottom line is very straightforward. It's very direct, unlike the HR tech that I'm trying to sell, where HR people will have to make a convincing case why this will help us increase employee experience, increase employee engagement, when most of the time the boss will just be like, does it help us make more money? If it doesn't make more money, then forget it. So sales tech is something really worth considering, and it's really all about going digital. So before you even embark on any attempt to experiment or to find out any tech tools out there, you have to make sure your digital presence is well done up. And in today's context, digital presence start by looking at your LinkedIn profile. So especially if you're selling B2B, LinkedIn profile is a way for people to understand a bit about you, not just what you're selling, but who is selling this product. And when it comes to LinkedIn profile, you have to make sure that it is comprehensive. I'm not going to go into the detail on how to make it comprehensive. There are a lot of guides out there since LinkedIn has been around for ages, also a decade, I think. But what you have to bear in mind is you have to make sure that it is comprehensive. So follow the guides to run through. And importantly, there's a few things that you have to make sure of. We'll run through them later on. Now, to ensure that your profile is solid, you can go to this thing called Social Selling Index. This is a tool created by LinkedIn to give you an understanding of where you stand when it comes to your profile, which of course will give you an indication of how attractive or how visible your profile is. And it's broken into a few categories: enhancing your personal brand, finding the right people, engaging with people, and building relationship. What does this mean? And establish your personal brand, ensure that your profile is complete. So that's one. Finding the right people. So constantly you have to use the tool to find people that you want to reach out to. Engage with people. Engaging means you have to put up posting, you have to react to posting, you have to put in comments. And lastly, building relationship, which is to add more connections. LinkedIn is unlike buying a database or list. You have to build that list yourself, and you have to build it organically. That means you have to add someone, and by adding someone, you will be adding their second level, their connections. So their connections will automatically become your second level. So for example, right now I have close to 30,000 connections on my LinkedIn. Assuming today is day one of your LinkedIn journey, by virtue of you adding me as part of your connection, you would have gained 30,000 second level connections. And this would be significant because if you're using LinkedIn as a prospecting tool, and let's say you're selling to COO. If today is on the day one of your LinkedIn journey and you were to search COO in LinkedIn, you're not going to find a lot of hits. In fact, you're going to find probably 0 people. And what you want to, what happened is after you've added me and you try to search for the same thing, you will be able to see a much extensive list of people. The reason why that is so because LinkedIn encourages you to connect with people. Unless, of course, you're on Sales Navigator, you're on the premium plan, then they allow you to sidestep and bypass all this. So important to check it out. Of course, going beyond LinkedIn, you want to make sure that you publicize your opinion as well. Many B2B business have gone to the extent of engaging or try to present some of the people within the organization as thought leaders. So this is an article that I've written for on Channel News Asia. You would want to find your own channel, your relevant magazines, which is talking about your industry, your sector, and publicize your opinion. Not information, opinion. Information anyone can find. Go Wikipedia can find already. Opinion is something that is sorely lacking because many a times we are afraid to make opinion. Why? Because it opens a can of worms. Opinion will never make everyone happy. No one is ever happy 100% with your opinion. Because that is never possible. If you want to make 100% of the people happy, you sell ice cream, you don't share your opinion. But that opinion is something that people is truly interested to look at. The same reason why you're attending this webinar. You can easily just go back to the table that I shared with you and go through that 400 tech company one by one. But that is going to take a huge strain of your time. So instead, you you come to me, attend this webinar, and try to learn from my opinion to help you condense that learning. So this is why opinion is solid, is highly sought after. If writing is not your thing, you can consider other channels as well. For myself, I have gone into podcasting. I've created a show recently where I interview people who are enabling the future of work. So this helped me to cut down the time I spend on writing because production for a podcast is just a recording. And I basically picked up post-production, and very quickly I'm able to put something together. So without further ado, I'm going to move into the next aspect where you'll be able to learn more about techniques, importantly tools that help you to sell effectively. And these are a snippet of tools out there that I have been experimenting with, I've tried out, but it still remain in my toolbox. So this is just a small portion of it. If you're interested to learn more, then later on towards the end of the deck, I have some contact information. You can reach out to me to find out more. So firstly, when it comes to selling in the B2B market, it is important to define your ideal customer persona. There is a tool created by Close.com. Close.com is actually selling a platform, but they have this template which allow you to easily put together your persona. Why is persona important? Because when you're selling digitally, you want to scale the effort. You want to do one single piece of action that can reach out to 100 people, 1,000 people. But it doesn't mean that it will work every time. It's like, you know, when people go through job search, for those that struggles to find a new job, they may also have a tendency to realize that they are using one single resume for 200 different job applications. It doesn't work. Unless, of course, all the 200 jobs that you apply for are similar. And this is why we are creating customer persona, because persona help you to understand, okay, my target audience would be someone holding a senior level in the IT department. They will have how many years of experience. They most likely will have a master degree in IT, etc., etc. And all this will help you to better navigate how you are able to reach out to them, how you're able to attract them, to interest them, to create the desire in them, and of course, for them to take action. So this is a no bullshit template for you to easily create your persona, and that will help you to lead to how you want to pitch across to them. And of course, once you have created a pitch, you want to reach out to them. I'm using a tool called AutoClose right now. This is a paid tool, by the way, but it's really quite affordable. I think it only costs less than $50 USD per month. And it allows you to reach out to, because I'm on O365, so there's a limit of 400 emails I can send out a day. So it's close to that limit. And I can send out, and I can scale it in a very manageable way. So I'm able to create email campaign. So let's say the campaign has 4 different emails. So I'll predefine the first email will go to you. I can even put in hi Miltech first name. So every recipient will be receiving something that has the name in it. And I can set a timer. So I'll send you this email. 3 days later, 5 days later, you never reply. Second email will go in. A few days later, you never reply. Third email will go out to you. At any point in time, you were to reply to me, the chain will stop. So it feels very natural. It feels very authentic, but actually it is something that I'm using a platform at the back end to scale my effort. So this easily allow me to reach out to 400 contacts per day. Multiply that with the number of days in a month, you can imagine how many people you can reach out to. But of course, having said that, you have to make sure that your pitch is tailored. Again, which goes back to the previous deck. You need to understand who is your persona. Your customer is not everyone. I know every one of us will always say, my product, everyone will buy. But the truth is not everyone will buy. So you want to reach out to the low-hanging fruit, the people that you will meet with the least resistance. And this is a good way to do so. The other thing you want to do is you want to use LinkedIn to reach out to them. People may not respond to email. I have seen many people who have, like, you know, in the phone, you have the batch count of emails, 1,000 over, 2,000 over. I know someone with 7,000 over. They just don't check email. So sending them more emails will not solve the problem or will not help you in any case. But for people that you may reach out to, they might be active on LinkedIn. So this is where you want to use a platform like Lead Connect to scale your LinkedIn outreach. Working in a very similar fashion as AutoClose, just a change of channel. By using Lead Connect, you can scale the people that you want to reach out to. Of course, LinkedIn works in a very different manner. If you're targeting people you do not know, you need to send them an invite first. If you're targeting people that you already know, you just have to send them a message. So assuming these are people you do not know, you can again create a campaign, and the first message in the campaign is actually an invite. So you're sending out invite automatically. And Lead Connect has a limit of sending out 100 invites per day and 300 messages per day. So every day, once you've set out the drip, without your interaction or any involvement, this is going up on a day-to-day basis. Again, your content is very important. Your pitch is very important. Because you won't be the only person doing this. If you go straight with a sales pitch, I can assure you, people will just ignore you. You may even be blacklisted. So when it comes to B2B sales, I realize it is always crucial to start off something very softly, and softly means doing something very educational. So if you want to share something with them, always go from the educational angle to entice them, especially if they know nothing about you. If you just imagine it this way, I'm very certain you, especially in today's context, you come across people who may need jobs, and they will come to you, hey, got job or not, got job or not. I get that every other day. And so many that I just cannot handle, and I'll ignore them. But if someone were to come to me and say, hey, Adrian, I've been following you, been reading your stuff, I'm trying to move into this, I just need some of your career advice. I may pick that up, I may talk to them. In the startup world, they have this saying, if you ask for money, you get advice. If you ask for advice, you get money. So same thing when it comes to how you want to sell. If you ask for money, people will entertain you, but if you ask for advice, people may give you money. So consider that. The other thing that I'm using quite rapidly right now is something called Appointlet. This is a scheduling tool. So whenever people want to schedule an appointment with me, I'll just give them a link. They'll just go in. And the back end, this is tied into my O365 calendar. So whenever they pick a slot, it would actually pick up only available slots in my calendar. So this makes it very easy for appointment, because traditionally when you want to set up appointment, it's like, what time you free? Next Wednesday cannot. Next Wednesday cannot. How about next Thursday? Next Thursday I cannot. How about next Friday? Ding dong, you took up 20 minutes of your time, wasted for nothing. So to cut things short and to make it very productive for myself, I send them a link, they pick the slot, bam, everything is done. And this is even integrated with Zoom right now. So everything is done automatically for you. Calendar invite sent out to both ends. If they want to reschedule, there's a link for them to reschedule. If they want to cancel, they can do that as well. Appointlet is not the only one out there. There are also tools like Calendly, EV.ai, which is using AI app that is residing on an email address to help you automate all this. So there's plenty of tools out there for you to consider. The other thing that I'm using quite aggressively is something called Zapier. So, Zapier basically acts as a middleware or a conduit between different cloud-based software. So, for example, we have people writing into us, people who may be interested on our solution. When it comes to our website, they may write in and contact us. They'll be filling our contact us form so that we can reach out to them. But beyond that, I also want to add them to my mailing list. So I want to keep them warm. So on a regular basis, they will have newsletter from us. They may receive about new events, so we can continue to educate them about what we do. I can do it manually. Every time contact form come in, copy paste the email address. I can do that. It's very repetitive. It's very manual, and chances are I'm going to miss out. I'm going to create some error here. So for Zapier, what it does is it can actually set a zap. They call it a zap. So essentially, I'll set a zap to have Zapier picked up email address from contact us form and push it to MailChimp. I'm using MailChimp for my email delivery. So this will be done automatically, and there's a lot of different use cases you can do. For example, we get email addresses from all over. Sometimes my salespeople go and meet a bunch of people, and this didn't come in from the contact us form. And salespeople being salespeople, they just dump it to the administrator. But the administrator may not have access to my MailChimp because there's a limitation. So I created an Excel sheet, and I just told the admin, just dump all the email address into this Excel sheet. I've created a zap to monitor this Excel sheet. Any new entry would be picked up and pushed straight into MailChimp. That again helps us to save a lot. Okay. A recent discovery, this is called Phantom Buster. Phantom Buster is like RPA for individuals. So I actually have a script on it that automatically likes the recent post of designated LinkedIn profile once a day. That helps to send signal to a LinkedIn algorithm, something that I used to do manually. So basically I follow my colleagues on LinkedIn, and by defining to field Phantom Buster, these are the profiles that I'd like you to monitor. Whenever they post something new, go and like it. So this is something that we do to each other in order to help to send signals to LinkedIn algorithm, basically. So instead of doing it manually, I'm doing it automatically right now. And there's a lot of different use cases for Phantom Buster. Phantom Buster is exactly on steroid. You can use it to scrape email addresses of profiles that you are trying to lead gen to. You can use it to auto connect with people, many different use cases. And they have a free account, which run for just 10 minutes, but it's good to experiment. Now, when it comes to B2B sales, especially for what we're trying to sell here, a lot of times we basically sell a HR SaaS platform. So a lot of things resides on the web, mobile phone, and sometimes when we want to put something together to make it a more convincing case for customers, putting together a video can be quite challenging. But in today's context, it's not that much because you have a tool called Loom. Loom essentially helped me to easily capture a video of my screen and to share it with whoever I want to send it out. So it's just like creating my own YouTube video, but it's a capture of the screen. So I can share with them how certain things work. I can share with them how to navigate from here to there, and also to share with them certain new features that may have arrived in video format. This is something that they can share out with their people, and it really helps to drive the virality behind it. And now this is not exactly sales, but in my scope, I also dabble in marketing as well. And for you may have seen a lot of companies, they would put together videos to help them market, not exactly product explainer video, but videos related to what they do, somewhat like an intro video of the company. Now, putting video together can be quite expensive. You need to engage a production house, you need to do filming and all that. There are easier ways to do so. There's a company called Lumen 5, and I've tried this out. I essentially just put in one of my blog posts, and they'll pick up the content, the pictures from the blog post, and turn it into a video. It definitely, of course, isn't as solid as getting a production crew to do it for you, but it is definitely much faster. You can create a video as long as you have the content. So imagine if you have a brochure, you have your PowerPoint deck, you have anything, just put them into a document, a PDF, upload into Lumen 5, and you can get your video right away. So it's another easier way to engage with your audience, especially given how noisy the market is right now. If you want to be really specific and you want to do it through video, there's a tool called synthesia.io. This is basically, you can see this character on the screen. She is synthesized, so is her voice. And by this app actually allow you to make use of her face, her image, her voice, to do an explainer video, primarily for educational purpose. But if you want to put this into a sales pitch, a sales deck, you can do it as well. So something for you to look into and consider. And again, this doesn't require any photographer, studio, voiceover artist. Everything is done through an app. Now, back to the sales portion. Now, of course, in a lot of sales conversation, you will be doing it through Zoom or Microsoft Teams. And if you're doing it like me in the comfort of your own home, chances are you're going to get a lot of background noise. Like right now, there's a construction going on. But I actually came across this app called crisp.ai. This is an app that you install and run in the background while you're doing your video calls, and it helps to mute any background noise automatically. I don't know how they do it. I don't know what's the magic behind it, but it works really well. And when it comes to conversations with prospect, chances are it will be quite a lengthy one, and it is very hard to concentrate when you also need to take notes at the same time. So what I usually do is I don't take notes because I will record the audio if possible. And you can also do this in a face-to-face interview, and then just turn on the app or submit the file to author.ai. Author.ai will auto transcribe on your conversation for you and generate rich text for your meetings, for your interview, for anything at all. Based on my understanding and my experiment with different similar apps, Author.ai has the highest accuracy. Of course, for us, it will always be a bit more challenging for them. Our English is not exactly American English, but still, it is good enough to get 80–90% accuracy where you just need to do editing here and there. A tool that we are using internally at PeopleStrong is something that we've created by us. It's called Zippy, and one of the things that is on Zippy is something called Genie. Genie is our chatbot, and this chatbot originally was created for HR transaction purpose. So you ask the chatbot how many days of leave I have left and this kind of stuff. But yes, evolved. Yes, evolved beyond that and has gone into things like sales enablement. So when I want to find out the latest sales pitch, the latest sales commission structure, things like that, I can just ask Genie. I don't have to go into intranet and go and flip up some outdated PDF and then make reference. So this Genie has been applied for quite a few companies. In Singapore, we have incorporated it for Singlife. They are one of our customers, and they are digesting this through Microsoft Teams. So lastly, on the tool portion, is on follow-up. Now, follow-up is always a constant bugbear for many people because most people will not reply to you when they get your first email. And I'm not talking about email campaign. I'm talking about email that you manually create. And it can be quite challenging, sending chasers, and sometimes you just forget, you just fall off. So, and to me, sending chasers is ranked high on the top of my most unproductive task list. So I automate that with followupthen.com. And this is so simple to use. You know how to use email, you know how to use followupthen.com. Because how it works is essentially you just create an email as per normal. Now the key difference here is you want to put in an entry in CC or BCC. In CC, it means by this date, the same recipient will receive an automated follow-up. So let's say I want to send a chaser 3 days later. So I'll put 3 days at followupthen.com. If I just want to send something to remind myself, because I'm quite an inbox zero OCD person, if the email has to be referenced, let's say 3 months later, but I do not want to see it in my inbox right now, I will forward that email, but I'll BCC, say 3 months later, or I can set a specific date, 1st December at followupthen.com. Then I'll delete the email away. On 1st December, the email will pop back up to my inbox, and that is where I'll take action again. So this tool has been very useful for me, especially given the amount of people that we speak with. And across the different cultures, some culture really, I think sending chasers seems to be a no. They will just not respond to the first email. So this is a very easy way for me to do that. And of course, when it comes to selling digitally, everything is behind the screen. And when it's behind the screen, you have to realize that a lot of the informational loss will happen. When people meet up physically, you have the handshake, you have physical contact, and the physical contact will actually create dopamine, which is why you enjoy hanging out with people, and you enjoy hanging out with your friends. But when you're doing calls, when you're doing video calls, you don't get that. And many a times your hand gesture, your body language get lost as well. So you are only dependent on a few things. You're dependent on your tone of voice as well as your facial gesture. Maybe some of your hand gesture if your camera is quite enough to capture that. So the first thing, of course, is to ensure that you create a first good impression. And the first thing is to ensure that you dress the part. You can see from this example here, this guy did the typical Zoom take. He wore the top part, but he wore a shorts in the bottom. And unfortunately and stupidly enough, the camera captured that. So depending on who you're trying to target, if it's important, make sure that you are dressed appropriately and ensure you do a camera check before this happens. Now, lighting can be quite an issue depending on where you are. For the longest time, I was seated in another part of my house where it has the least amount of lighting. And it was a constant problem. I tried getting ring light, I tried getting this, doing that. I even got a reflector screen. But fortunately enough, Zoom actually came up with a feature that helped you to adjust for low light. So right now, I just have to make sure that I go under video settings and I turn on the adjust for low light option and switch it to automatic. And that will help to ensure that the visibility of my face is better. The other feature that Zoom has came up with is actually more for vanity purpose. It's called a facelift filter. You know, when you look at things people post on Instagram, Snapchat, they always seem to have flawless face. Same thing. So this is a beauty filter. It may even make you look younger. So under the same setting page, just make sure that you switch on touch up my appearance and adjust the level of filter that you prefer. I know most of you would just go straight to the maximum, right? But you test it out first, because when I try to move it all the way to the right, it looks a bit fake. You look like a plastic character on screen. Don't let your background distract your audience. I actually was watching a webinar Thursday. It was presented by a CEO of the company, and he did not use a background screen. So it was showing him in his bedroom, I guess, and he has this curtain that keeps flapping because the wind was so strong, and it was extremely distracting. Plus the lighting and all that was bad. So right now, if I were to turn off my background, you'll be able to see all the balcony, my stuff, my plants, which of course is going to be distracting. So make sure that you have a background set up. And if you just want to grab all this background, you can easily just go to Canva, C-A-N-V-A, and search for Zoom background. They have a lot of different backgrounds here. And if you could see the one on the lower left is what I'm using right now. The next portion is on how to keep your audience attention. And the first thing, of course, is to ensure that your technology works. So prior to it, make sure that you test your setup, make sure it works really, really well. Yesterday was the first day of a major HR event, and unfortunately on day one, the tech stopped working. All the live session wasn't running. So it was truly embarrassing and something that I think should not have happened. And probably because they have not tested. So make sure you test it well. When I first started this video journey, I realized a lot of shortcomings with my setup. I'm using an old laptop, so my built-in webcam is very pixelated. So I actually got a webcam, which is much better. But if those are things that you do not want to spend on, as specific to webcam issue, there's actually a way for you to turn the webcam off your smartphone or turn the camera of your smartphone into your webcam. And most likely you are using a better, you probably have a better camera on your phone than on your laptop. So you just have to search for this company, HDI HX camera application. It would guide you to download an app and teach you how to link it up. So you can use the camera, the front or the back camera as your webcam instead, and it will be much better. So when you start the call, of course, connect with everyone in the call by welcoming them, address each of them by their name to acknowledge their presence, or simply by expressing empathy, such as asking how they're dealing with the current pandemic, is everything okay, and ensure that they are aware that you are acknowledging their presence. And you need to ensure that your core message is ready, otherwise your conversation will go nowhere. So, and it can be quite apparent as one try to ramble on, use filler words to fill up airtime. You hear a lot of, such language will switch your audience off in seconds. Again, these are very critical because you have no body language to compensate. You have no other stuff to compensate. So whatever is on this screen, be it a 14-inch, 13-inch, 15-inch, you have to make sure everything counts. And please don't read the slide. The focal point is you, not the slide. What I'm doing here is a negative example to show you why you should not read off the slide. If you're just there to read off the slides, you don't need you. So you want to have a visual that actually allow people to better digest or to accentuate or emphasize what you're saying. So a good representation is something that is typically done at TED. You can see Bill Gates is speaking about virus, and on the screen is just a molecular representation of a virus. That's it, and it will help to emphasize the point across. And especially when you're using Zoom right now, you can actually share, you can actually do presenter view. I'm using presenter view right now, so my notes is on the lower right, and I can make reference to it. So it's actually much easier for you to do this than in a physical presentation. So so you have to be aware that the focal point is you, not the slide. Okay. So if you let the slide be the focal point, people will just tune you out. Pause at certain key points to ask questions and to see if your audience may have any reaction, which is the same reason why during earlier part of the conversation, I asked you for your feedback. There's actually a few purposes there. One, of course, is to gather and understand what are the challenges that you have, and of course, to share with your peers and all that. But second of all, is really to increase interaction. Because if I don't ask, every one of us will just sit back, relax, and slowly zone out or even fall asleep. So you want to keep up with the interaction, which is why if you recall going to any past training, the better trainings that you can remember are the ones that have a lot of interactivity, a lot of activities, a lot less lecture. So the same for your presentation, especially if it's going to go long. You want to make sure that you pause to make sure to check in to see if there's any issue, any concern, any question, and also this keep them on high alert. They know that they'll be asked. So they to try not to zone out. And lastly and importantly, modulate your voice. Unless you're teaching your audience how to chant, you need to avoid a monotone voice. I'm not expecting you to speak like a newscaster, but remember you're not speaking to yourself. By modulating your voice, your audience will be able to know what's important, what's not, and this is much better than giving equal emphasis throughout your entire speech. So with that, I hope it gives you a better sense of the things that you should pay attention to, as well as the kind of tools that you can look into. And for people who may be keen to find out more or even to try out the tools that we have at PeopleStrong, I'm displaying our Zippy app. We have a performance management system, which might be useful for your salespeople, as well as a learning management platform. Feel free to email to me. My email address is below, and I can set you up for a trial on all the system. I also write about work tech very regularly on my own website, adriantan.com.sg. So this is where you can find out more about things that I cover beyond just what I do in the office. And thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time.